join us in welcoming Chief Program and Strategy Officer for TED Conferences, Monique Ruff-Bell, in conversation with Skift Meetings Executive Editor, Andrea Doyle.
Everyone. What a great lunch, wasn't it? Just wonderful.
Thank you.
So here we are with the one and only Monique Ruff-Bell from TED. What a treat for all of us. So I was hoping you could raise your hand if you have been inspired by a TED Talk.
Everyone.
Woo.
Ooh, lovely.
Raise your hand if you have paid to attend the TED conference in Vancouver. Woo! Nicola. So TED actually celebrates its 40th anniversary this year. It was started by Richard Saul Wurman, someone I've had the pleasure of interviewing many times. And it started technology, entertainment, and design with one theme, open-mindedness. So my question for you is, how has TED revolutionized the way we plan gatherings?
Before we get into that one question, I'm going to throw you for a loop a little bit. I'm going to ask the audience something really quick. I want you to shout out when I count to 3. Now do it after 3, not on the 3, because I know that confuses people sometimes. What's the one word you would describe your year in the meetings and events industry? Is it joyful? Is it crazy? Is it frustrated? Just shout it out after 3. 1, 2, 3. I feel the same way. So I just want you to know we're all in this together. We're all going through the same thing. I think what TED Conferences has done in the space is we have been able to get the space and flexibility to create a community of curious people. We are not a transactional conference. We are not a B2B space. You don't come to TED to do business. You come to TED because you want to be motivated, inspired, changed. You want to think differently. You just want to hear dynamic stories. We're a wonderful storytelling platform. And so for someone to invest in coming to our conferences, they're doing that for themselves. They're really thinking about how they're going to inspire themselves in a different way. And to have so many wonderful, great speakers that come on our platform, that gives us the opportunity to do that.
And I was surprised to read 30 billion people have listened to or watched a TED Talk. Isn't that correct?
30 billion views and counting. I have an events newsletter. I am blown away with, we're over 3 million subscribers to that events newsletter. It's just amazing how many people really engage and are inspired by our platform.
Wow. So you have found ways to engage on all levels. What is your strategy?
So we like to say we give away our secret sauce for free, which is what we do, right? So you can come to our conferences, and it's a really different experience to be in that space than just watching the YouTube version of a talk. That's a very edited talk. But a conference, we have a big conference in Vancouver, 5 days. We do 80 TED Talks over 5 days. Wow. And so not only are you listening to TED Talks, then you go to something called discovery sessions. And so we don't call our sessions breakout sessions. We want to create experiences where you discover something about yourself, a new ability, a new way of thinking about that. I had one of our highly rated discovery sessions was a tree doctor.
Wow.
And it took people outside to hear trees speak or how to build a sneaker or things like that. So very unique experiences that we put with TED. And then you have all of the parties and dinners. And then you have the speakers who come off of stage and sit right in the audience with you. We have speaker meetups every single day where you can ask all those burning questions of what you just heard. So it's not about just creating content, it's about creating an immersive experience.
And I wanted to remind everyone in the audience that if you have questions for Monique, please download them into your app and we'll get to them at the end of the session. So TED has a new tagline, which is ideas change everything. Ideas are at the core of all events. Is TED's strategy evolving?
Well, we have to evolve, right? So TED has been around for 40 years. People don't know that, since 1984. TED has over 3,000 TEDx events globally. So what I do, I oversee all of TED's flagship conferences, all of TEDx, all of TED's marketing, and all of TED's partnership sales. And so there is so many aspects that go to TED. We are a nonprofit, which people don't know. Anyone, and I mean anyone, can apply to come to a TED conference. They think there's this exclusivity to it. It is not. And you can you've probably had an experience of whether you watched it on YouTube, you had a TEDx event in your area. We have to go to where our community is. Right. And so our TEDx organizers do it for free. They're volunteers. They do not get paid. They cannot make a profit. So to do all of that work, which we know it takes a lot of work to put on events, to do that for the love of TED only, that means you have created a very strong, impactful brand on people. And so when you think about how you are going to organize your event, we start with community first. I always tell my teams, how are we going to create a connective tissue for each other, for all of our attendees, for each other, as well as to TED? All of the other stuff will come after that.
So earlier today, Ken Halsinger from Freeman explained that Gen X is going to overtake baby boomers in the workforce this year. Are the changes at TED designed to cater to this new audience?
We try to cater to all of our audience and go to where they're at. So we have something called a TED Talk. I don't know if you watch our TED experiences on TikTok. Multi-million people are subscribers to that. We're on YouTube. We're in-person experiences. We have TED Education. We are in multiple school systems around the US. I think over 3,000 educators incorporate TED into their learning. We also have what we call our TED Socials, where we do little pop-up community events all around the globe where people can just kind of connect with each other for the love of finding new things, being curious, a curious lifelong learner. So we like to come to where everyone is, and we just don't think of it as a one-time event experience in the same way that Seth talked about. And I was really amazed, I did not pay him, that he talked about TED as one of the events. But we're 365, and kind of where do we need to kind of make sure that we invest in those experiences to grow our community and the love for the brand.
Okay. So TED Talks are typically 18 minutes or less, which is a great format for social media, for video. Was this intentional or a fortunate coincidence?
Ask that again.
The fact that TED Talks are 18 minutes or less,
yes.
Was that intentional for it to be social media friendly, or was it a coincidence?
Coincidence, but now they're not even 18 minutes. So they can be 4 minutes, they can be 6 minutes, they can be 12 minutes. We are really conscious of how people consume content. And so we're trying to evolve the different ways we produce content. And so the TED Talk in its standard form is really engaging because it's all about stories. One of the things that people find very hard when they are selected as a TED speaker is to stick to one idea. They like to talk about 17 different things. And when you produce content that is going to be appealing and connective, they want to hear the story about that one idea and the beginning, the middle, and the end of that entire thing. You can do that in 3 minutes. You can do that in 6 minutes, and you can do that in 18 minutes. So for us, we want to create the most compelling story from our speakers, and hopefully, we'll never go longer than 18 minutes, let's just say that, but it's not always at that 18-minute mark.
Okay. So let's pivot for a moment. You have said you feel the industry is not doing a good job telling the story of how it impacts the bottom line, how it's important to speak the language of the C-suite.
We always talk about that we are business strategists. But do you have the language to showcase that to senior management? And are you being taught the language to showcase that? And so one of the things when I was thinking about my career journey and career trajectory, I was like, how do I get heard by the people who hold the purse strings? And so I became a very, very good student about getting access to certain rooms and opportunities just so I can hear and understand what that was. And so I was like, okay, keyword, investments. This is what I'm going to do now. When I ask for more money, I'm going to say, this is an investment. This is a cost. This is why this is investment. This is going to improve my retention. This is going to improve my survey results. This is going to improve the connections that we're trying to do. And I would make sure I shape my entire story around why I considered that an investment. And then when it came to something like cost, for example, I think breakfast is a cost. And so I would say, I am going to be very efficient and cost conscious when it comes to just creating breakfast bites for my breakfast, because I consider that a cost. I was very clear with my language. I would also say, I see the company is trying to reach X, Y, and Z revenue. I'm going to understand the pipeline, not just what sales have sold. I'm going to understand the pipeline of what's happening here and how I can integrate and become more of a cheerleader or participate in those calls to get some of this stuff over the line to improve our conversion rates. Those are the words that I was saying when I'm in the room with the C-suite, and they would always perk up their ears. And so I learned more and more how to use that language when I'm describing what I'm doing, where I'm trying to go, and when I need more money.
Wow, that's great. And you talked about the importance of mentors, but also ambassadors?
Sponsors.
Sponsors.
Mm-hmm. And so what was really important about my career journey was, I was always a good little worker bee. And I was always the person that left last, there early in the morning, executing my checklist. And it came to a point where I said, only thing this is doing is getting me more work. What do I need to do around here to get a promotion? And so I decided that I had to be more intentional about my career. And so I always had great mentors, people who gave me advice, but I needed access. I needed access to the right rooms. I needed access to the right people. I wanted to be a P&L owner. I wanted to be a revenue driver. I wanted to be seen as an ideator and a business strategist. Who do I have to connect with that is going to get me access to that skill set or that room? And I became very intentional about connecting with those people in those organizations. And I would say, hey, I know you're going into the CEO to pitch this new event idea. Can I come with you? I'm not going to say nothing. I just kind of want to hear and understand what are the needs that the CEO is looking for when you go in there. And I built such a trusting and hardworking reputation that they would let me in to do those things. And every time I put myself in those positions, I kept learning and doing. And then when I moved to a different job, I would say, hey, I know you want me to be the head of content programming here, but I also want to run this P&L. And let me tell you why. Because I think content is a P&L driver. If I get good speakers on there, if I have to pay for good speakers, I'm going to drive more people to attend this conference. So I got very specific about the asks that I wanted, and I learned along the way, and I never put a timeline. I never said in 10 years I'm going to be the Chief Program and Strategy Officer of TED. I said each time I'm going to be very specific about the skill set I'm going to extract from each company I ever go to. And that created this trajectory for me that TED did not have this role. They created this role for me.
Wow.
Because I was bringing certain knowledge and levels to and I was asking the right questions and I was showcasing the right ideas that they said, you're already kind of doing this, let's just give you this title.
That's great. Mm-hmm. I know a passion right now is growing leaders. Can you touch upon that?
Yeah, so like I said, when we talk about business strategists, how are you bringing the next generation up? How are you thinking about succession planning? I like to train myself out of a job. You want to know why? Because I don't want to do all of that. I want very specific things that I want to concentrate, and I don't want to have to be in the weeds of things. And so in order for me to kind of move and do the things that I truly enjoy, I got to grow my leaders to do the other stuff that are core to a successful business. It takes a village. And so let's say for my leaders, I have an operations lead, I have a community lead, I have a marketing lead, wow. I have an experience lead. And every year in December, you have to put a strategy deck together. And I'm not just talking about a deck to just surprise and delight me, very specific KPIs and goals that even as an operations person, you have to kind of come to the table and showcase either you're going to be more efficient with something, you're going to innovate somewhere, and we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to have clear expectations for each other so that you take the rest of the year to accomplish that because you are improving your business line. And so that's the way I speak to my team. It is not about your checklist. It is that we are always talking about the bigger picture. How are we bringing everything along? And it takes a village. It's just not one area. It's not just the content person. It's not the customer service person. It's not the operations. It is all of them. Right. One person could break the whole thing. One area could break the whole experience for someone. Right. Everybody has to be all in. And I create solution-oriented meetings for them to feel like they're part of the solution of evolving and improving our events year over year.
Because how does the saying go? We're only as strong as our weakest link.
That's right. And I'm so happy that I have a team of high performers who want to be better, who now all see themselves as business strategists, who all use the language of the business C-suite when we're in meetings and talk. You know, we have a lot of fun. Don't think it's just that, but we also, I want to grow them up so if they ever leave, they can go somewhere else and bring that skill set to the table within events. The more we do that, the more people will see we just don't do parties. We just don't order chicken. We do way more. We keep things going. We evolve. We improve retention. We improve conversions. We improve brand recognition. We improve the acceleration of our brand, all because of someone's great experience within our events.
Well, it's no secret that the workforce isn't back since the pandemic. How do you get people excited about this industry?
I'm very lucky because I work for a very strong brand in the marketplace that is, very recognizable. I think when I've worked in other places that did not have this type of brand recognition, it was really, really important about our communication strategy, how we talked about our events. We did a countdown to our events and got people excited. So if you were registered, every week you got this email that talked about all the things that you were about to experience and reminders about these different things. And people started looking forward, and then we would put some little funny saying at the bottom that they would always kind of come up to our registration team, was like, we loved your emails or whatever. But we were always thinking about how do we get them excited to what they're about to experience. People just take the registration and then they say, here's an app, and then we'll see you on site. And they don't think that there's a whole list of opportunities that you can be engaging with these people, even though you already got their money or you already got their registration, to get them excited about the experience, because that is going to improve your retention. And so to me, it's cheaper to keep her, is what I like to say. And so I'm always thinking about how do I continue excelling and growing my retention rate for all of my programs. And I got to keep the people who are coming happy. And what does that look like? So they can have this connection and say, I have people who've been coming to TED since 1984. I have people who've been coming to TED since 1992. And believe me, they tell me about it. And so I want to keep them coming and coming for as long as they want, but I also got to excite the new group of people who want to engage with the TED experience and, launching new programs and events for that, for the younger audience. So all of that I care about is just because I want people to have a really great experience with TED in person, not just online.
Right. And you're so passionate, and that just comes through.
Thanks.
So TED has a new consulting product. Can you tell us about that, please?
So like we said, we give a lot of things away for free. This is not free, but we were thinking about how do, a lot of people always come up to us and say, you are the gold standard, the gold star kind of within the events industry. And, I'm so passionate about this industry. I always say events is such a viable career. I scream it from the rooftops. I talk to young professionals. I have a gazillion mentees. And I want to showcase and share kind of that with companies, organizations, nonprofits, event companies who want to know, how do I get my speakers to be great speakers like TED speakers? So we have a consultative product where now you can come with us and we offer TED speaker training or TED design for your upcoming events, or how to improve your events for them to be more community-based. So we've just launched that, and so far so great. with the organizations and the brands that have decided to take us up on that.
Where could members of our audience get more information about that?
So you can come to TED.com under our partnership banner. I am here for the rest of the event. One of the things I truly hate is when people speak and then they leave. Like, I'm hanging around. These are my people. We're going to have some conversations. And so I'm happy to kind of also hear if you're interested in that, but also find me on LinkedIn, all the great things. But we're doing this for the betterment of our industry and making sure that we can share what has worked for us can work for you maybe.
So we have a lot of questions.
See.
So TED feels like it's always on the cusp of what is next and stays fresh and innovative. How do you stay on top, and what is your secret sauce?
We actually have a full-time curation team, not a programming team, a curation team. And so what does that mean is their number one job is to go find unique, innovative speakers, 365 days out of the year for our different programs. And then once they coordinate and find that speaker, speakers go through our speaker training, our speaker coaching. They just don't show up like this that you see on YouTube. A lot of people, they can be long-winded, go on and on. Like I said, talk about 17 different things. So we have to coach them. So in order for us to have this amazing content, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and investment into doing that. And so I think people connect with us because they know us from the TED Talk, not necessarily all of our in-person experiences. So that matters. Investing in the right things that's really going to elevate what you're known for and continue to invest in those is the key.
Okay. And we have another question. Was there a science behind the 18-minute time cap? How would you coach planners to coach executives to present shorter sessions?
So in the B2B world, when it comes to the executives, it is very hard. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat because they want to talk about what they want to talk about. We all know this, right? And so you can tell them 17 different rules, and they have their PR people, comms people are telling them to talk about this. So we break the molds. We basically say, whatever you think you want to talk about, no. And it's okay if you don't want to do this. If you don't, like we're not afraid to lose people because we want to bring the best of the best to the table, and there's always someone in the background. Like they always say, there's someone always waiting to take your spot.
I'm looking behind you.
Exactly, right? And so this is, you have to go through our speaker coaching. You have to create and framework your talk in this way. Or you don't do a TED Talk. Happy to do an interview. But I only do 2 interviews out of an 80 talk situation. So you're only going to be one of the 2 if I don't see someone else from an interview standpoint because we specialize in TED Talks. So you have to kind of have your guardrails, you have to have your boundaries, you have to have clarity, and you have to have your framework, and you have to push that all the time, no exceptions.
We have another audience question, which is about finding and sourcing speakers. What is your methodology, your strategy? Any trends you'd like to share?
So remember, like, we are a generalist conference, generalist content. So we talk about every and anything. So we have curators that specialize in certain things. So I have a curator that specializes in tech and science. I have a curator that specializes in entertainment, self-improvement. And so that's kind of how we break it up. So they have a very targeted way of looking how they're going to source speakers in those different areas. And I know, like, I come from Money 2020, right? We have 500, like 200, 300 speakers. It is very hard to do that from a content programming standpoint when you're just doing everything and you're just trying to get as much speakers as you can. But you can create these very intimate moments, these very intimate talks, these very intimate behind, closed door sessions where you can do that. So it can't be the full breadth of your conference, but where are you creating these pop-up moments where you could bring the best of the best, the unique into your conference so people can walk away and say, wow, I never knew this gas and energy conference was gonna kind of bring this type of speaker to the table.
And I'd love to end by finding out where you find inspiration.
Oh my goodness. So I am a big YouTuber. So I love community-based content. I love learning from other people who are doing things. I will sit there and, I'm not on TikTok, so I don't do the scrolling thing or whatever, but I absolutely love just learn. I'm a curious, lifelong learner. I am the person that TED tries to attract, and I love to kind of learn. I can fix a lot of things around my house thanks to YouTube. Okay, so I love me some YouTube, and I get inspiration just from the day-to-day folks that are doing amazing things.
Well, that was so wonderful. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Monique.
for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.